Why don't your parents love you? I'm kidding. Let's talk about the generational gap of Gen Z. My parents don't understand me. It's a common phrase amongst young teens. I feel like everybody at some point in their life has felt misunderstood by their parents. It happens. It's no big deal. But what I don't think it's talked about enough, though, is the relationship between parents and their kids and how that's been affected by the technological world changing over the last 15 years. And you know what happened when I was recording this? I was looking at the script and I accidentally deleted that whole thing. I kind of grew up without technology. I didn't have a TV until I was like 9 or 11. But after that, I was watching TV and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. And as I grew, tech grew as well. So I grew up with it. As a kid, everything's a new concept. So the idea of new tech or this new thing that can, you can call people or whatever, like you learn about new tech, you learn about how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all the same. For me, I didn't have to be able to deal with that, and a lot of people didn't. But if you think about how far the technological world has come over the last 10, 15 years, less than 20 years ago, we got YouTube. Less than 20 years ago, we got our first phone. The world changed really, really quickly. And nowadays, like in a couple of years, we're probably going to have brain chips in everybody's head and we'll be able to calculate things on the dot. But everything's grown. Everything's changed over the last whatever amount of years. And it was all within a short period of time. Now think about all that. Now think about your parents. Your parents had to go through that fully grown, fully, to their extent, understanding the entire world the way they know it. And having to be able to get used to these new concepts of internet and social media and YouTube and all this kind of stuff, all within like 10 years. I spoke to my mom the other day about what was life like before the internet, before social media, everything like that. And she talked about how you just go over to your neighbor's house and go say hi. You go chill with them for a couple of hours. You would learn things just through the newspaper and people telling you and stuff like that. Everything was a lot slower and everything was just a whole lot different. The way we find partners are different. The way we fight, the way we talk, the way we walk, the way we learn, everything's changed, and all within this short period of time. The term is called technological shock. And as a Gen Z or millennial who grew up with technology, it's not particularly something you think about all the time because the world that you know now is the one that you were born into. It's the only one you've known. So everything feels normal, everything feels natural. Even you watching this YouTube video, like, this is just a normal thing, It's not something crazy. But back in the day, it would have been. And that's the thing. Human beings don't like change. We fear things we don't understand, especially when you get older. And that fear and dislike of things we don't understand is exactly what happened to your parents. They got stuck not wanting to change out of that fear and distaste for new things. Like every human being, they struggle to change. In order to be able to change, you have to accept that you may have been wrong. You have to be able to question your own beliefs and really struggle within yourself to be able to get that humility, which is a struggle for many people. And on top of that, you have to be able to let go of always being right, which as a parent, like, come on. Everybody's parent is like that, you know what I'm saying? And that's an issue far beyond just not liking technology. That's an issue that most people have in terms of trying to be able to accept new things and being open-minded. Most people struggle with that just because that's not typically how we're genetically wired. It has to do so much with how your mind works and how you process things, and many people struggle with it, not just your parents. It just comes in the form of technology and social media. Except for you, it may be that you don't like pineapples on pizza, so you stay on your way about that. By the way, pineapple on pizza is good. If you disagree, you eat booty, nigga. You a booty muncher. And on top of all that, it was a cultural norm. It was like normal to when you got older to stay on your way, to not change, to be that older guy who doesn't change their opinion, And all those things combined, you have a situation where your parents just struggle to be able to change, struggle to be able to adapt. Can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? That's the whole saying. And a lot of people back then, that's just how they were. And that's the thing. There might be people out there who disagree and don't empathize with Gen X or later generations, because of the fact that for them, they'd be like, I never would do that. I would be accepting of a new thing. Now, obviously, it's because of the fact that, they grew up with that idea of accepting new things. So it wasn't particularly something that was distilled in them. At the same time, though, this is kind of off topic, but it's worth noting. What we're seeing right now with NFTs, I think, is the first time that we've seen Gen Z struggle with accepting a new concept that they don't understand. I see a lot of discourse about NFTs being lame or like, oh, just take a screenshot or everything like that. I think it's because of the fact that now we're a bit older, so a lot of us have been, you know what I mean, on social media for the past 5 years, and we're kind of getting used to the ways things always have been. And this new idea of, you know, cryptocurrency and NFTs and how it all operates, it's a bit of a new concept. For a lot of people, it's not something that they want to be able to accept because it's so new, it's so different. Anybody who I talked about NFTs with, usually they don't know how it works. So, you know, that's your proof right there. Come on. There's a lot of people I talked to about it. They're like, I don't think that. I just don't like it. I think it's just stupid. Because it's funny to me because that's exactly what your parents think about when you're describing TikTok to them, you know what I mean? But you can see what technology shock does to people. We reject it. We don't like it. We have a distaste for it. And things we don't understand and things we don't, like, we never heard of, we typically reject. It's almost a defense mechanism that we do. Now, take an already rocky relationship between teens and their parents and throw in the biggest technological jump we've seen in the last 100 years. And you got a huge cultural gap, a huge disconnect between parents and their children. Not to mention immigrant parents, bro. Shh. Man, you guys have it worse. Can't even deny.
See, the rain is nice, but I don't really like getting wet.
Your parents don't understand you. Nowadays, most parents don't know the first thing about their children. They don't know their interests, they don't know their hobbies, they don't know nothing. Most of it's to do with online. In fact, a lot of the times it's the kids teaching their parents how to conduct themselves online. It causes a strange power dynamic where the young adult feels more intelligent than their parents, and it causes them to resent and disrespect their parents because of the fact that they lack the emotional development to be able to handle those types of emotions. It also causes them to pull away and feel isolated because of the fact that they feel like they can't go to their parents about anything. Any situation involving like interactions between people, they feel like they can't go to their parents and ask them for anything. Social situations where it would cause them to be able to, like, how to ask out your crush or how to deal with bullies online. The parents can't offer any sort of information because they have no idea about it. And in most cases, the adult feels inferior to the child, they feel dumb, and it causes them to lash out at them. Anytime the young adult goes to ask them for anything, parents lash out by always scolding them and always trying to be able to teach them a new lesson because of the fact that they feel disconnected from their child, which reinforces in the young adult's mind that they can't talk to their parents. And their parents get upset because the kids aren't talking to them. And the parents themselves can't handle those types of emotions. So then they lash out, which is a whole nother aspect. A lot of times the parents are not taught how to parent. They grew up in a culture and a situation that taught them a certain way of life, and that's not compatible with the one we see now. A lot of parents don't know how to parent. No, I'm not one to disrespect parents, but it has to be said. They don't know. Everything that I've talked about so far could be solved with good parenting. But that's the thing, your parents were never taught how to parent. So in order to be able to learn, a lot of times you have to admit that you're wrong. And admitting you're wrong is something that everyone struggles with. You also have to be humble and be almost inferior to the person that you're trying to learn it from. And obviously you're not going to listen to your child about how to parent them, you know what I mean? But yeah. It's a difficult scenario. Most people struggle with admitting they're wrong, especially with your parents. So they get stuck. They don't want to change. They don't want to get better. They don't want to admit that they were wrong and that they've wronged you over a period of time. A lot of parents get stuck with not wanting to admit that they made mistakes with you in the past, and that causes them not to actually change, not to be able to move on from it. They stay in their ways. And the situation gets worse because the child is now resenting their parents because of the way that they're treating them. And the parents are almost oblivious to it, almost narcissistic about it. They don't acknowledge the fact that they've done wrong, so it never allows them to be able to grow from it, which furthers the distance between the parent and child and causes the young adult to pull away even more. It's a very complicated situation because of all the factors that come into it, but a lot of those factors are affected by the technological change over the last 15 years. Now the young adult's in a situation where the majority of their social problems they have to deal with alone, causing them to make mistakes and go down terrible paths in regards to online, such as like making a TikTok account, regurgitating the ideologies of family members or individuals inside your community that you may not actually believe. It's just all you know. Now they have a TikTok saying racist, sexist, and immoral beliefs, understandably getting hated on, and now having this reputation on them for the rest of their lives possibly, all because of the fact that they couldn't get any guidance from those who love them, because of the fact that those who love them don't understand them. You know what I'm saying? That's why you see so many young adults getting role models from the internet and copying how they do things. The only issue with that is that sometimes they can pick a role model that can lead them down a wrong path because that individual perhaps is not a great person, you know what I'm saying, or their beliefs and the things that they actually think are incorrect. and it doesn't allow them to be able to succeed. But what are they supposed to do? Who are they supposed to turn to, right? Yeah, it's a tough scenario. Also, it's worth noting that millennials have gone through exactly the same things that I've talked about in this video, and maybe even worse. The reality is that their issues are similar, but they're also a lot different, and I will hopefully make a video in the future addressing that. But if you're a millennial, comment down below, hit me up on Instagram talking about your story, or that you want to be featured in the next video. Other than that, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Peace.